studio now is our final plenary speaker of this year's conference, Sanjay Patel from Takeda. Welcome, Sanjay.
Thank you, Sarah.
It's fantastic to have you here in the studio alongside Puneet Bhatia.
Sanjay, hi, Sarah.
Hi, Patel.
And we've got a few questions for you in advance of your session this morning. Puneet, would you like to kick us off?
Absolutely. Sanjay, it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah.
So I guess just to get us started, can you talk to us about the importance of purpose in Takeda overall?
Yeah, look, I think it's a really important kind of element of any organization because purpose is what defines what the company is all about, who you in the company are, and how you contribute to the greater good of the company and what the company stands for. And for me, it's personal. And when you personalize purpose, when you go into the office or to your work, you know the impact that you are having. So to me, it's like really important and critical.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I guess it's great when the leader's purpose aligns with the organization's.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and interestingly, I was actually reading an article that Deloitte had published back in 2019, which talked about purpose and the impact that purpose has on how successful a company is. And I'll share some of that during my session later today. And the what kind of really kind of gave me a huge kind of impact was that organizations that have a really clear purpose and the purpose permeates through the organization, the impact is 3x. Right. The companies are 3x more competitive or better than the others, right? So it does have a big part to play. And especially in the organizations that we run in global business services or solutions or shared services, as some of them call it, it's even more important because we are so far removed from the front line and helping build that connectivity back to the purpose and why you come to work even becomes more important for functions like ours.
Fantastic. I guess that's a lovely segue, I guess, into, I guess, how do you take that purpose and take that, the organization's purpose, and translate that into Takeda Business Solutions' purpose and take it on to every employee?
Yeah, so we've got 3 different programs that we are running. Each program kind of provide a different perspective, angle of how an employee, no matter where you are in the organization, no matter what role you have in the organization, each one has some level of impact to, and in our company, we're a pharmaceutical company or biopharma company. We exist to improve patient lives. And how do you, if you're an accountant, if you're a person in the master data team, what impact do you have to the patient? So for us, we do this line of sight, which helps bring that, like the patient connection closer to who you are and what you're doing and how your role actually impacts the outcome that the company is trying to drive.
Right.
So that's what we call it, a line of sight, which is a 2-dimensional paper exercise. Then we take them through a patient experience program where they actually interact with a real patient. And just this week, on Monday, we had over 500 of our employees in Poland interact with patients. Wow. And I'll share some of the reactions we've gotten from that impact. It's profound, right? But it doesn't happen overnight. It has to permeate through the organization.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe leaders like us play a big role in helping create that connectivity. Because without that connectivity, a piece of invoice will always be a piece of invoice or paper.
True.
But the way we look at this is, and we're trying to kind of educate the organization, is that invoice, behind that invoice is a patient.
It's meaning.
There's a meaning to it.
Yeah.
And when you give meaning to something, you get that spring in your step, and you really now understand the impact that it has.
Fantastic. I mean,
Has the sense of purpose heightened since the pandemic, or is there more of a focus on it, do you think, returning to work this year?
Yeah, I think it's a great kind of points, Sarah, and it's something that we have seen, and not just me, but I think in many organizations, like the purpose gap already existed pre-pandemic. During the pandemic, as people have been working from home, for obvious reasons, and now when we're going into this hybrid, that connectivity, if you continue to be in a work from home environment and don't bring people back into the organization to have that purposeful interaction, then that impact on purpose will always be there. That people just don't relate to it. And especially again in our organization, like the GBS world, we are constantly hiring people.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people are coming in new to the organization, and they need to be able to embrace the purpose, the reason for being. why the company exists, why your role is important in the context of the purpose of the company. So I think that the nice blend between virtual, but also when you come into the office, it has to be a purposeful interaction.
Yeah.
And there has to be a meaning as to why you come to the office versus just coming into the office to be on phone calls all day.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's going to play a big role. And the purpose gap seems to have gone wider and wider. And if you look at the executive level or the senior level, I think the purpose gap is much like narrower.
Yeah.
But as you go down the organization, it gets bigger and bigger.
The
And that's where the
disconnect.
and that's where
Yeah.
the connectivity to why you come to work becomes really important. Yeah. And I'll share one of the leaders that I follow. He's an ex-Disney COO, Lee Cockrell, and he said something like, when I met him like almost 10 years ago, and he mentioned two things. He goes, when you wake up in the morning and if you say, I want to go to work versus I have to go to work, and if it's I have to go to work, it's time you take a step back and reflect on why. Because there's something that you're doing at work that's not connecting, and you're not satisfied. Your team may not be satisfied. But when you wake up and you say, I want to go to work, you know why you're going, because there's an impact you're making, right? So I think that's where we have to be quite careful in this post-pandemic, in the hybrid era, on we don't kind of lose that impact.
And what are some of the tangible benefits you've seen? Employee engagement, scores, retentions,
Yeah, I mean, those are the benefits. Like definitely if you have a greater sense of purpose and the connectivity, engagement definitely improves.
Yeah.
Loyalty improves, right? People tend to stay longer because they believe in it. Your sense of belonging is better.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we've cracked the nut, right? But we've identified some of these areas through our employee experience survey, and our results were around like 60-65% when it comes to the purpose and how people connect with the purpose, but that's not good enough. So how do we get it to higher? And through programs like what I've shared, which I'll be sharing later this afternoon, we've been able to slowly try and give meaning to the work that we do, because we are, after all, in a space where we're doing a lot of like transactional work or like processes that at times don't excite people. So, but if you create that excitement and give purpose to why you do what you do, then hopefully the results will be positive.
Absolutely.
That's
I'm very hopeful.
That's fantastic, and it's amazing you talk about that purpose gap being wider at the lower grades. I guess that's the other thing that tends to impact that, I guess, is the brand, right?
Yes.
And I know you've done a lot of work on brand. Talk us through, I guess, the rebranding into Takeda Business Solutions.
Yeah. So yeah, we like this goes back to 2019. It was just around the time when Takeda had closed one of the largest M&A in terms of size and value by a Japanese company. So we acquired a company called Shire Pharmaceuticals for $62 billion. It was a large-scale acquisition, and bringing the two companies together. And that was a time when, like, there was an expectation that the Takeda Business Services organization at that time really plays a critical role. And for us, that was the right time to pivot the organization into why we exist and what role can we play in this kind of M&A era that we were going through. And that's where the solutions came in, because anytime there's a large acquisition integration, there's two systems, two processes, two ways of doing things. And organizations like ours who have capabilities around process knowledge excellence, automation, like continuous innovation improvement, we can bring all of that and help provide a solution to the business. So that's how the services to solution came about. And last year, Takeda had a refresh of its corporate philosophy. And as part of that, one of the areas that was identified was experience, delivering exceptional experience to our colleagues in the company. And we saw that there was a gap. So I'm a big fan of going for the gap. When the gap exists, go for it, then you become relevant. So for us, the gap was people experience. How do we now, as an organization, because we have the solutions, we have the process knowledge, we have the capability around improving things, and we also knew the pain points that the business or the users are facing. So that's how the experience kind of came about. And but I always say it's the easiest part is to do an edit, find, services, replace with solutions, experience. That's the easy part. The harder part is how do you embed that mindset and the culture of what your brand is saying to the rest of the organization, because it can't just be the 10 or 12 leadership team members that will kind of change the narrative, right?
Or a pretty cover on your PowerPoint slides.
It needs to be embedded in the organization, and that's how we've created this whole organization called Center of Excellence for People Experience. And one of my leaders, who's very passionate about this area, leads that organization. And the whole idea is like, how do we embed that capability in the mindset and the how in the entire organization, right? So each time someone interacts with you, they get that positive experience. So that's how we've done it. So it's more than just the brand. And also, like recently, we've refreshed and launched our brand externally, and you'll see that it's like all focused on experience, purpose, patient, and that's the type of people you want to attract to your organization.
Fantastic. So I guess, like you said, the easy part is the find and replace. How did you go about cascading the brand all the way down, and what impacts did you see, I guess, on the employees, on the rest of the organization?
I mean, if I look at the solutions, we went from service to solution. The impact was huge because right away, like the team felt that we were moving away from a servitude mindset, like supplier-buyer relationship, which is typically what you would find in a BPO type of relationship, to where like, hey, I'm important.
Yeah.
I'm actually providing a solution, right? So right away, that positivity sets in. Right? But again, like I said, it's not just the changing the name, it's all the actions that follow, the training, the capability uplift, et cetera, we do that actually helps the organization.
I guess it instills a bit of a I can do this attitude.
Yeah. And I'm empowered.
Yeah.
I think that the empowerment is really important.
Great. On that note, Sanjay, it's all we have time for today. We're about to get started here in the hall shortly. We're very much looking forward to your session this afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks, Puneet.
Thank you.
Thank you.